Hello, everyone. My name's Ashley Holt, as you can see from the screen. It is 2022 of September, and I'm just making a quick intro video for anyone that's considering getting into property. It could be for someone who's done property before, and they've maybe made a few mistakes and it's put them off. It's never too late to get back in. So I'll tell you a bit about myself first. So in short, I help investors invest in property within the Greater Manchester area. The northwest, but predominantly the Greater Manchester area and some areas surrounding. The kind of people I help might be international, they might be expats, and it could just be people that that are in the UK, but they don't have the knowledge, the resources, or the time. Unfortunately, it isn't just as simple as buying a property, renting it out, and reaping the benefits. I think if it was that easy, we'd all be doing it, wouldn't we? So with that out of the way, this is just a quick intro video to anyone who's thinking about getting into it or even getting back into it. I think it's very risky to go into it unprepared. However, if you go in prepared, you mitigate your risk, and I really do believe that you reap the benefits. So with that out of the way, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you a few things you need to do before you think about getting started. Okay. So what I'm firstly gonna do, I think I've lost it, there we go. Before you even start, it's very important that wherever you're thinking about investing, you really know your area. So before you even start looking at properties, you've got to look at rental demand, the prices, schools, regeneration, all these other things, all that good stuff, urban life, all that good stuff. So what I've done here, we've got Google Maps. This is absolutely fantastic. Some people might just have a spreadsheet with information. I personally love Google Maps because it's just not only do you get to know what's where with just by looking at the map, and when you're driving around somewhere and you go, oh, I'm here, I must be near there. You can also store your information on there. So for instance, if I click on M99 here, I can edit this. And if I'm looking at regeneration or school areas, or if there's a private school in that area that might make the properties go up, or if there's a new hospital getting built, etc., I can store that information so that when a property does come up, brought to me by an estate agent, or if I find it online, or if I find it via a landlord, the many ways that you can go and find property, I can come back here first and go, oh yes, I know this area. That's fantastic. So we've got all sorts here. It's a really good way to get to learn your areas. If you want to import the files, there's a website called Dougal, and then you pretty much transport the KML files onto here, and you can get to know your areas. And it sounds like a lot. It's quite intimidating looking at all this at once, but I'll tell you, once you've used it for a while, you really do start to learn more about all your areas. So with that out of the way, let's go to Rightmove. Okay, so Rightmove. Everyone knows Rightmove. Probably 90% of properties that go on the market probably come to Rightmove. A lot of people who've been in property for 10, 15 years, they might turn the nose up at it a little bit because they've been around for so long. They've got investors, or they invest themselves, and people come to them with property before it's even gone on the market. Great, good for you. Fantastic, but not everyone's in that position. And personally as well, I just wouldn't underestimate the power of Rightmove. It's, like I said, 90% of the properties come on here, and you can really find some gems. So with that out of the way, I'm not signed in, have I? I will leave that. That's fine. So back to search results. Ways to utilize Rightmove if you are new to it. So rather than just going out doing a broad property search without putting your price or your beds or anything like that, you're going to come up with thousands, and you're just going to be scrolling. With this instead, way to utilize it, in my opinion, and do the start of the postcode. You can do the full postcode if you want, but do the start of the postcode if you're looking at a certain area. This is WN7. This is Lee, which is in Wigan. Very underrated area in my opinion. Wigan, known for its pie sandwiches. You can get some good rental returns here. The capital growth might not be as quick as some other areas, but if you are getting started and you want a good return, Lee and Wigan is a good area. What I like to do, so for instance, we've put minimum price to maximum price 100,000, and I've done 3 beds. The reason I've done that is when you're looking at renting out a property, you want to look at your price, your refurb costs, your rental returns. And with the possibility of having a 3-bed at less than 100,000 spent, um, you might be looking at finding a property anywhere between 6 to 750. Now, if you spent 100,000, the yield returns there, you might be looking at anywhere between 7 and 9%, which for your first year is a really good return. If I've got my maths wrong there, feel free to correct me. But no, Rightmove is fantastic. This is an extension that you can get on Google Chrome called Property Tracker. So you can use this to your advantage. I'm going to try and find. Here we go. The down arrow means it's been on the market for a certain period of time, but obviously no one's put a bid in. So for that reason, either the seller's got twitchy feet, or the company's got twitchy feet, and they've said, right, we need to lower the price a little bit. Otherwise, people just aren't putting the bid in here. It's a little bit overvalued. You can definitely use that to your advantage. It's really easy to download, and that is that. From there, moving on from Rightmove, we've got Zoopla. Now, obviously, before I move on from Rightmove, I will let you know now, there are many ways to get property, not just from Rightmove and not just from countless hours of scrolling. But however, things like this, I'm using oldest listed as well. That's where you do get your gems. That's where you do get something that's a bit beat up. This is the way to maximize these platforms without spending 5 hours straight with your eyes bleeding because they've been staring at the computer screen straight. It's a way to really maximize it. But other than that, yeah, there's many ways to get yourself properties without going through Rightmove. From there, what we've done here, I did find a property before, but I've lost it. And I found the postcode for this property. So I think it was an £80,000 property. It was a 3-bedroom terrace. Now, at that cheap, my assumption would be that it needs some refurb cost to it. So that's something to bear in mind. But if we can keep the legal fees and the refurb cost and the buying price below 100,000, and potentially get this rented for maybe over 700, but even at 600 you still get a good return. What we need to do is we need to look at rental demand. But what you can do, you can actually just speak to the estate agent. It is quite easy just to do that, or a local lettings agent to get a good idea of what the rental demand would be in this area. Alternatively, you can go to for rent to rent, and then from there you can kind of try and find places that are quite close. It looks to me like a lot of these places are quite far away, but it'll tell you how many beds, 1 bathroom. This one's renting for 525. Sometimes you might not get all the information you want, but like I said, you can just pick up the phone and get this information. So that's one way. That's one way to look at things. From there, you want to be looking at the house prices in this area as well, to make sure these things are accurate. Now, nothing's actually come up here, this doesn't happen all the time, to be fair. So well, that's just caught me on the. What I'll do is I'll use the area that I'm living in. So I have to go a bit off track there. Sorry about that. Actually, wasn't aware that happened. So okay, so with that out of the way, you can go for you can look at house prices. Now, what you've got to bear in mind is when these were sold. Sometimes you might not get a lot of history. Sometimes you will. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select on this random property here. Zoopla might give you a price, but if you signed in, but I would take it with a pinch of salt. And what you can do here, this is the good part. This is where you can see the most recent sold properties. This is a great way to get your comparables. And if somewhere is on the market and it's saying 80,000, and some of these properties were sold at 100,000, 120,000, then you might be getting a good deal there. So it's really one thing to consider, without actually having to go and pay for a valuation. Now, don't not do valuations, because sometimes you might need to get a surveyor in for other reasons. But just to keep things simple without having to go and drive around an area, these are all the things you can do to save yourself a lot of time before you actually go in your car and drive around. Like I said, time is the most valuable asset that you have got. This is the one thing I like. If you want to get to know an area, yes, you can drive around it. You can do other bits of research. This is very data driven, and it can tell you a big story. This is called Street Check. What I've done here with the first property that we found as well, WN7, we've put that in on here. It tells you everything you need to know. So we've got housing types, we've got housing tenure, owned outright, owned with a mortgage. Let's have a look at private landlords, 34, out of a total of 114 houses. I would say that's quite good. So I'm quite happy with that. People, social grade, these are the type of jobs that people have. So we've got a lot of skilled manual workers. This could be construction, it can be labourers, it can be anything. Semi-skilled, unskilled, this might be your retail jobs. Then you've got your supervisory clerical. So I'll give you an example here where A and B might be really high. So I don't know where you're from, but for me, let's say if I think of an area like Knutsford within the Greater Manchester area, not is it Cheshire? Anyway, yes, I think it's Cheshire. It's quite a wealthy area. You've got some really nice houses down there. That A and B number might be a lot higher for a place like this, for a place like that. But in this instance, we're looking at Lee, and that's what we've got here. Don't let that put you off. That's not a bad thing in the slightest. We've got the age categories. Normally, that's a right split. This probably tells you there's lots of couples, which is good, especially if it's families, because they're the people you want to be letting out to. The long-term renters, they know and look after your property, and it's a great thing. So, yeah, age groups. The average age group here, as a UK holder, median age is 39. So have a look here. This is a good idea. So we've got a lot of 30 to 44 here, actually. So I don't know if they're going to be single owners or people with kids, but there you go. Culture. So ethnic groups, country of birth, passport held. To be honest, I don't particularly look at this too much, really. It doesn't really tell me too much, to be honest. And here's one thing that does tell me, though, is employment activity. So one thing that I will be drawn to is I'll be looking at the unemployed sector here. So 15 out of 201. I'd say that's quite a good number, actually. If you're in a place where the unemployment numbers, anywhere above 30%, then you might want to reconsider the area that you are looking at. And I'm not being prejudiced there. I'm just being realistic. Obviously, feel free to have a drive around the area, but things like this do save you a lot of time if you are looking at investing. Employment industry, like I mentioned before, I think I said retail and construction. It looks like it might be. So we've got health, education. Oh, I was wrong about it. Real estate, where's construction? Yeah, so yeah, construction and retail, I thought that might be the case, but yeah, health, social work, so just your kind of ordinary working class, really, which that's okay with me. If I've looked at this area, I think I'm so far, unless the crime statistics tell me something else, then I might be happy with it so far. So let's have a look. So crime, it's always good to know, because if you go into an area and it's just rife with crime, according to statistics, yes, you might want to reconsider, and you'll be glad that you didn't go and drive around the area and waste your time. Things like this, once you've used them for a while, they do not take long at all. Okay, I won't talk through that too much because I'm talking quite a lot. Okay, so that's the basics to consider. So we've gone through house prices, the construction, the construction, the refurb costs. So you always want to be thinking about your legal fees, your refurb costs, your actual buying price, and the rental return. And also the end value as well, because you might decide you want to sell it or refinance with whatever you're doing. So there are things that you really need to consider when you are getting into it. And without getting in your car and going anywhere, you saved yourself a lot of time by having a good idea of the area here and looking at, is it an investable area or not? Now, there's other ways to go and get yourself to go and find property. You can look at, there's so much out there now with online stuff that we've got here. We've got a landlord register here. This isn't the only one. This is just a Manchester one here. There's many other ways where you can go and find landlords who might be looking to sell their properties. So you might have landlords who bought their properties in the 80s for £20,000, and now them properties are worth 200,000. They've had enough and they're ready to cash in. You can also do this through word of mouth, networking, but there also are databases where if you're happy to just pick up the phone for an hour or two, I know I am. I'm going to do that, and you might strike lucky. Like I said, persistence creates luck. Facebook ads, it's not for everyone. More because I actually do run a business where I source the property for people. I'm trying to maximise the chance of me getting off-market properties and get myself some below-market value. So that's a comment there. Is it on Marshmallow Lane? I think that's because of that ad we put out. We do have comedians comment on these things sometimes. A couple of other things to consider if you are going to be a landlord: the EPC register, find energy certificate. Dead simple to find. As of 2025, if you are going to be a landlord, you need to be looking at renting a place, and it needs to have a rating of C. So you might need to make these improvements in the next couple of years. Maybe they'll have leniency. We don't know. Dead simple though. You don't have to pay for it. You might find it online. The estate agent might have it, but here's an easy way to find it. Once again, we'll use the postcode that I did before. And here you go. It'll tell you whether it's valid or not. So expired, expired, expired. And it'll tell you the rating there. And if you want to just click on this one, let's say it's got a D, it'll tell you all the information you need to know. It'll tell you the potential that it's got, and if you actually, it'll give you a breakdown. And if you actually need to, if you need to get this rating up, if you want to get this rating up, it gives you an idea of the costs and where you can get it to by doing these certain things and how much you can save. So that's really simple in that respect. Another thing you want to think about is if you are buying certain properties is the tenure. You want to look at freehold or leasehold. Now, most estate agents you would think would show you this, but if you are finding off-market property, and if you've got someone who's being coy about what they're doing, or to be honest, if it is just a homeowner, they might actually not know because they've not been using it for rental purposes. Why would they care? We've got a way to find here. So apparently that's not a postcode. There we go. Yeah, anyway, yes, with the land registry, you can go on there. I don't think I need to go through too much there. You can probably figure that out for yourself. It's £3 to find the tenure of a property. So it's really not too difficult to do. So with that being out of the way, I think that's pretty much the basics of what you need to do if you are looking at getting into property. Now, there's a lot more to it, but I just thought I would just kind of hopefully share a little bit of knowledge with some people. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do feel like you want to reach out to me sometime and have a chat with me about getting started in property, or even using my hands-free service, I'd love to have a chat with you. Other than that, I hope I did give you some value. Have a fantastic day. September of 2022. Don't look back on this wishing you got started. Thanks, guys. Brilliant talking to you. Have a great day.